Welcome back to Behind the Bowl. My name is Brian McDonald. I am the Director of E-commerce here at Oma's Pride. Joining me today, really awesome, really fun conversation we are about to have. I'm joined by Joe Meyers. Joe is the founder and the Chief Digital Strategist. Now, Joe, introduce yourself. Tell everyone what's up. How are you? What's going on?
Brian, thank you so much for having me on Behind the Bowl. I'm so excited for this conversation and this style. As you mentioned, I'm the founder and chief digital strategist at an agency called Share Marketing Agency. Before this, I was the CMO of a pet technology company about 5 years ago.
Awesome.
That company kind of got acquired and moved on. And I love the pet space, kind of fell into it. I was at Target on their digital marketing team and fell into the CMO role in the pet space. And if you've ever been to a pet event or been around pet people, it's addicting.
Yes.
You want to go to more shows and everyone's happy. Maybe that's the human animal bond in motion.
Yes.
Worked in other industries, and the pet industry really has jumped off. And obviously, given the tremendous growth and opportunity, it was just kind of a natural fit to start an agency and to help pet brands from brick and mortar to e-commerce grow and expand and move on. So I'm excited for our conversation.
That's great. That's great. Now, what do you, is it a total agency in regards to your offerings? Like, can you talk a little bit about what you offer to your clients?
Certainly, yeah. So we take each client as they are. So we'll do a comprehensive analysis of their kind of entire digital marketing strategy, whether that's their website, social media, paid ads, and then we educate and then give our recommendations on next steps. Sometimes those recommendations are within the services that we offer: paid ads, web optimization, email campaigns. Sometimes they're, hey, you really need a really good graphic designer, or you need a really good full-time social media person. So we'll work with the brand to really find what's best for them. We're not a hammer looking for a bunch of nails. We really consider ourselves a consulting agency. We can help out and work with clients for years. I think we've worked with clients for several years now, and we're evolving and figuring what's next. And okay, awesome, let's do a micro influencer campaign. Let's make sure that makes sense. And then sometimes we get ourselves fired because we'll bring on a team member that do the jobs full time internally, just because that we want to do what's best for our clients. And if that's not working with us, we all win together.
That's great. That's all. I mean, it's such a crazy time too. I mean, I'm obviously big into, DTC and social media and everything that involves growing an online presence, because we're in a time that this was not possible 10, 15, 20 years ago, right? Where a lot of small businesses and pet, the only option you really had, right, was opening up a brick and mortar retail store, versus today, your ideas can really come to life because of the power of the internet, because of the power of websites and website traffic and social media. And that's what really fascinates me, especially in pet. There's been so many different types of innovations and different types of products that have evolved into the marketplace because of what you can do at home with just your computer, right? Where this just wasn't possible. So if you have I'm just throwing a random product out there. If I have a new chew toy that I wake up one day and I want to make this, I can make it. I can create a website, I can sell it, I can become a part of distribution, all within like 12 months, where before, at least in my community, right, where you really didn't have that avenue where I had to open up a store, or I had to just not take my dream and make it into a reality. So what are the top products or top companies, but the top products that come to you that say, hey, Joe, I need help. I have this product. It's a really good product, but I'm not getting the website traffic. I'm not seeing the sales. I'm not seeing the revenue come through. What does that encapsulate?
I would say that the top category is pet technology. I work with, because that's kind of where I started. I started at a CMO of a company called Pet Chats. We had 100 million views on social. We were kind of everywhere. It was the dog camera, two-way dog camera. So I led the charge there. So I'm really embedded in the pet technology.
Okay.
And I think the brands will come to me and say, like, I have this amazing innovation. I've done all the legwork. I'm not an engineer. I've done all the coding. I'm not a coder. It's kind of the I've built it, but no one's arriving.
Okay.
And they've been so involved in the details that they forgot, and it's hard to step back as a
Sure.
consumer, and all of the minutia of all the technology gets in the way of like what's that value add
Hmm.
that's bringing to the consumer, because that's ultimately what the consumer's buying is. They're buying the after.
Yes.
Like, what does this product do now? How is my life improved, better? You know, all of those things that as a pet owner, we see this product on the shelf or in an ad or in social, and we're like, I want that promise.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times in the pet technology space is there's so much stuff. That 12 months of, looking through manufacturing um, sheets and getting samples and testing out things, they're so embedded into the details that
Sure.
we take a step back and say, okay, what does the consumer journey want? What are your differentiators working with a product right now that their website could have been any of their competitors' website? It said exactly what all of their competitors do, and they were $100 more expensive than their nearest competitor. And I was like, okay, well, you're everything else, not
Yeah.
you. And
Yeah.
so we're just in the process of relaunching that. And it's fantastic when it kind of emerges and we go through this process of branding and developing and finding those key terms and those things that were in a boardroom, 2 years ago on the back of a napkin. Now that's coming to life. So I would say, like in the pet technology space, it's really cutting off the edges to say, okay, what is your value add?
Hmm.
What do you provide better than anybody else? What are your differentiators in the space? And it can be the same product. It can be a chew. Okay, there's probably other brands that do chews, or there's other ones that have that process. But as a brand, what is your differentiator? What is that
Sure.
one thing that sometimes it's social media, sometimes it's customer service. You can have a number of them. It doesn't have to be just innovation. It doesn't have to be just new product stuff. Anyone who have been to a show, some of the innovation happens on the fringes, on the edges. It's like, oh wow, this is a cool way of doing this one little thing.
Yeah.
But I think the
Yeah.
brands that really like, wow, we are really good at this. Like
Yeah.
we create amazing content or amazing copy, or our partnerships are second to none. You have to stand above. So we work with brands and say, okay, let's pull back the veil. This is how we're going to lean in, and then it's sales is a process, not an action. And so we try to work through okay, let's get somebody to the website first, and then
Yeah.
let's get their email, and then let's get them to open up the first email, and then let's get them to open up the second one, and then we'll sell. It's
Yeah.
not like add sell like
Yeah.
that. That is gone are those days of like, well, I ran an ad and I didn't sell anything. Well, yeah, yep. It's a process, not an event, not a single like. This is it. Obviously, there's sometimes that like you work with direct response and like it's measured by that. But I
Sure.
think if you take it as like a single action, you're gonna miss a lot of the learnings there.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. I think so. When I joined Oma's Pride is a fourth generation family owned and operated company. We're bootstrap. There's no VC money. Like we've been producing on the same family farm since the 50s. The story is remarkable. I joined and I'm like, this story can't be real. And the biggest face that I went up against when I first joined was, how do I take this story? How do I take this product now that's been family run in the same family farm since the 50s? And then in the 90s, they transitioned to pet food. So Oma's Pride's been around commercially producing raw pet food since 96. And it's been very localized because of, oh, like we have a great product, we have a great story, people will just kind of find out about it, people will sort of buy from us. And how do we amplify the message, right? How do we pull back the curtain? All right, there's no welcome flow, your offer sucks, that, like, all those things, right? That you can have the best product in the world, you can have the best technology in the world, but if everything is not set in place to not only drive traffic and capture emails, but to really amplify your service or your product, you're never really going to truly grow, right? So that's what I'm noticing is happening too in a lot of the pet space. a lot of the companies is I've developed a great service or product or technology, and I'm just going to go to the trade shows and I'm kind of, just kind of hopefully it grows from there. And there's so many different, and this is the stuff that fires me up. Like I'll wake up in the morning and be like, oh, I got to make that change to the welcome flow. I just wake up and I'm like, I'm fired up to do it because those are like the incremental changes that you see growth long term. And so, long story short, that's what we started to do. When I joined, we pulled the curtain back, revamped the website, our capture, our lead generator, started building out landing pages that were targeted to different areas and age groups, building out those email flows, trying to do everything that we possibly can. And then social games obviously changed. Our social team does a great job, but taking that fourth generation family story that really only people around New England heard about. And then how do we 10x this across the country? And I think that is the part that like is really, really exciting to work on every single day. I mean, that's what and I'm sure you feel the same way, right? Whenever you're able to make these little changes that most people think aren't a big deal in, 30, 60, 90 days from making those little small incremental changes, you're like, boom, there we go.
Yeah,
1.5%
yeah,
just went to 2.
1% means a lot when you start
Yeah.
adding commas
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you start amplifying that, and that, oh wow, I get a 1% greater conversion rate on that landing page. That means a lot when you're driving traffic. And I
Yeah.
think we live in such an attention economy where you're not just competing against the other dog foods. You're competing against Lexus and BMW
Yeah.
and all of those things that end up in their email box or their notifications. And it kind of just you're continuously competing for people's attention. It's not like they're not seeking this out. They're not, acting on a day on this. I'm assuming the sales cycle is not, you know, 12 hours for your product. Imagine
Yeah.
it's a couple of weeks because they're doing some research and consideration and going back and forth. And shifting dog food is a big decision. Some of these are big decisions that take weeks of consideration at times.
For sure.
And so having those touch points that like I get them again and again and again, and especially like the high quality and value that they're bringing, they're like, this is a really good thing, but I could lose to, the local restaurant because, oh, that's more important. Oh, we'll just stick with what we have. He's fine, right? Like
Yeah.
that's you're getting to that place where like you're not just competing in your category anymore. You're competing for, hours and eyeballs.
Yeah, for sure. And going a little bit further into that, what I wanted to have a conversation about because I'm a big email guy. I mean, I think email the way people think about emails is almost like what people thought about when the internet first started and dial up and you couldn't be on the phone the same time as the internet. People think it's a way of the past. And I'm noticing, I mean, email revenue across all sectors is growing year after year, but especially in pet, right? And I have a quick story to sort of like kick off this conversation. We have our retail team. So we sell online, D2C, and then we have a wholesale, and then we also sell direct to retail stores. We go through distribution companies such as PFX. We have sales team out on all sectors of the coast, but they were, hey, Brian, I really want to really start emailing some of these retail stores. Can you help me build out some flows? Can you help me create some templates where I can, put some sales stuff we have in there and blast those out? I'm like, perfect. This is awesome. Before then, zero emails. I mean, zero.
Mm.
Just going into the store, interacting with the store owner. Started sending out 2 emails a week. All of our sales reps send out 2 emails a week, and they've essentially tripled their business in almost 18 months because all they've done is just send out 2 emails a week. And I really, really am heavy on emails because it's not something that, just like you were discussing, you really need to be in front of your consumers, whether your consumer is a retail store owner or a 45-year-old stay-at-home mom in Utah. You have to keep hammering them in a good way, in a way that adds value to them. You can't just send them sales emails nonstop all day, but a way that you can add value and sort of, let them learn a little bit more about your product or your company or your technology. And then over time, right, they become a part of a purchase decision where it's like, holy shit, all right, I've learned a lot. They came out with this new product. I'm gonna give it a shot. And then next thing you know, they give you a shot, and now you have them in your ecosystem, and they're a long time
Mhm.
customer. So what are some things that you've seen in regards to what's the standard for email practices? What you get where most people are like, hey, yeah, we're, Joe, we're sending out 1 email a week, or we're sending out 2 emails a week. We have a 2 email welcome flow. What are you seeing that's sort of like standard, and where do you take them throughout that process?
Mhm. I think the standard for me is transactional. So that's typically from an e-commerce perspective. They might have a coupon on their site, some pop-up coupon that plays in, but that's typically talking about what they want. They're
Mm,
like, off my first purchase, like join our email list to get 5% off. It's really low value exchange. And so they say, like, that's not working. I'm like, yeah, they don't know about you. So 5% means nothing. They don't understand the
yeah,
value. They don't understand anything that. So it's not education focused for email exchange initially. And then it's transactional. So it's like abandoned cart, typically, like it's the standard one that's kind of embedded in their system, depending on what they're using, HubSpot or Shopify. And then it's the purchase, um, and that's kind of it, as it all sees standard. So it's like my value email, not
mm,
your value, but my
yeah,
as a company. I want you to buy something from me, so I'll give you a remedial amount off.
yep,
And then it's the transactional, and they say, oh, no one gives us our email address for the the my value email, so email doesn't work, and all I get it is for there, and I get
yeah,
these really low welcome rates, and it's all about like it's sales, not providing value. So I think I go back to that jab, jab, right hook, Gary Vaynerchuk approach of email of like, I'm going to provide value, 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 and then I'll ask for something in return.
yeah,
So what we shift that to like, okay, what problem are they coming to your site to solve? Typically, an ad draws them. They're coming to your site to solve a problem. They have an issue. They're wanting to know something. So we lean in on that. So cool. We're just going to provide you value coming from us. I
yeah,
think the open is enough of a value for a big cool. Now I got you. Now you're in the flow. Now I can add you into a welcome flow. Now I can educate you. Now when I offer you a 5% off, it means something
sure.
versus it meaning almost nothing when you first come to the site. It's like, wait, I have a problem to solve. You're going to give me 5% off of what? What's your solution? What are you selling?
Yeah.
Um, and then in the transaction, we just continue that value exchange. Like, here's that problem solution. Here's what you're going for. Here's a resource. Here's a download. Here's advice. Here's some
Yeah.
insights. So it's conversation, and the product is just okay, we need to solve this problem. So this product will accelerate that.
Yeah.
There you go. And so I think that leaves them with a different mindset. Um, than like, oh, they're trying to sell me something. No, they're trying to like improve the life of my dog in
Yeah.
whatever way. Well, whether it's a technology product that is working with a GPS dog collar. Like, okay, what value are you providing for that dog? That's peace of mind, that's security. So talking about that, like, okay, here's tips and tricks on training tips, and here's ways to bring your dogs new places. Like you're selling the other side of the story. You're selling the after. So
Yeah.
prepare them for the after. Like, hey, here's 5 tips for when you go to a beach with your dog and you don't need a leash. Like, here are 5 of the best dog parks with that you can go to. Here's a story on the other side you're selling.
Yeah.
Versus like buy my product, it'll get there in 3 days.
Yeah.
And so I think a
So
lot of
true.
people think of that transactional side versus like selling the story of what their product delivers.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we'll come into and say, okay, like awesome, you're giving 5% off and that's not working. Well, let's try to give high value when they come. And then in the bottom of that email, we'll keep the 5% on.
Yeah.
But typically it's 2 or 3. And I absolutely agree. I think the value of email, especially if you don't have if you have a $20 or more product,
Mm.
most of your sales are going to come through email. And I think that number is like almost decreasing in cost of what it was. Before it was like a $50 product, like, okay, you need to sell it in email. But I think nowadays people have so much information
Yeah.
that they're going to be like, okay, oh wow, like there's 3 of these. If I can't decide online, like I can figure it out. And if they fall in love with the brand, the rest of the details kind of work themselves out.
Absolutely. And that's where that's where it comes into the power of your channels, where if you have exposure on social, if you have exposure on email, if you have exposure on paid ads or local advertisement, next thing you know, people are seeing you everywhere. You're giving them value in email, and then all of a sudden it's like, all right, I'll give them a shot, right? And I think
Yep.
that's something that we shifted towards. We should be coming out with it within the next few months, but where we hired nutritionists, and they're going to essentially build out um, a recipe guide slash nutritional guide for consumers, right? So I'm switching my dog from a $400 a month dog food company to another $400 a month dog food company. I really need to find out why I need to make the switch, right? So Big Country Raw out of Canada. I don't know if you're familiar with them, Joe, or not, but Big Country Raw is Canada's probably leader in raw pet food, and we're the first ones to do this online, where their acquisition strategy for attaining a new customer, you went through their product selector or their quiz, right? And
Mm-hmm.
hey, here's what we recommend. But what we're also going to do is, within 3 to 5 days of us capturing your email, we're going to send you, based on the information that you filled out, a custom meal plan that's going to be sent to your email with a breakdown of why we recommend buying this, why we recommend buying that, links to those products that are given to you with that feeding instruction meal guide template.
Mm-hmm.
And that's done really well for them, but that's an example of adding value along with your percentage off. Just like you mentioned, people need to feel some sort of value. And that's where I think, even though I'm not a fan of these people on social media that offer digital courses, right? Click the link in my bio and sign up for,
Mm-hmm.
my course. But what they do really well is they provide a ton of value in their newsletters. They
Yep.
provide a ton of value in their trials, right? Hey, you can join our membership for 7 days for free. They hammer you with value ads. And then they obviously jab you with their $2 million a month digital course. But they do a really good job as well on providing value to get and attain a new customer. And that's another conversation where we can go down the deep end on. But I love, 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 love email, and you're spot on. I think really people need to think about value over profits initially, just to capture that customer.
Exactly. And I think it's one of the only channels that you can quote unquote own them,
Mhm.
if you provide value. Like
Yeah.
social, it's a 0.5% on organic reach if you post and don't play by the rules. Uh, Paid ads, I mean, you're obviously paying to play there.
Mm.
If you work with influencers, pay to play.
Yep.
You don't own this audience at all. During owning a prospect prior to owning a list of where they live,
Yeah.
from the day, is that's never the thing. Wow, I can get prospects to go to my website, and then I can own their email address and they'll open it up. And obviously you have to play by the rules of email servers and not get caught in spam and
Sure.
double opt in. But you have such a better opportunity of having a relationship with that prospect than you'd ever have before.
Exactly.
Or there's no other platform. Yeah.
100%. And it's crazy how targeted you can get when it comes to email reach. So, UConn men's basketball, I don't know if you're a basketball fan or not, but they won the national championship last night. We're in Connecticut. We have a relationship with UConn. So woke up this morning and, hey, let's do something for the Connecticut customers and give them a little offer for today only, that to celebrate UConn winning the national championship. So UConn wins, you win type of subject line, right? And hey, let's just segment customers that live in Connecticut and let's just run with it. You can't do that in any other channel, like you talked about, right? We own email,
Yep.
we segment everything. And you could take advantage of things that happen, and really be reactive to certain situations to increase your revenue, all because we play email the right way. And, if we put a post out on social media about it, it's not going to really do anything. You can't run a paid ad the same day. You're not going to see any returns. You can't do anything. The only thing that you can do is utilize your customers that you own and email and SMS. So, that
Mm-hmm.
email is going out in an hour, and it's going to run through the end of the day. and it's just going to send to Connecticut customers. But those are the
Amazing.
types of things that you can do on email that, you can't do anywhere else.
That brings me to the point where you asked what my clients will do before, and that's the other thing, is not segment their email list
Mm,
to customer journey. It's
yeah.
like they're just going to send a newsletter to everybody, or just when they buy, they're going to send those transactional emails.
Yeah.
But to have a list, or to have a funnel of what people that haven't opened in 90 days,
Mm,
and then kick those people off if they haven't, right? Like keeping that fresh, having
yeah.
people that bought this segment of
Mm,
product and upgrading them, like treating them not as this monolith of I have my email list. I'll go
yeah.
into these like servers and I'm like, how many email lists do you have? Well, we have like the one. I'm like, what? Who's bought from you? Some of them. When was the last time they bought? A while ago. I like sometimes like having those broken down to say like, okay, these are people that bought within the last week. These are the people that forgot to reorder. Like,
Sure.
and some of those triggered emails, I feel like people are sending like the let's send an email game
Yep.
versus like let's optimize all of our triggers and let the technology win. Like, let the technology win out. Okay, we're going to trigger this person. If they haven't ordered in 6 months, they get that triggered email, and then they get the flow, and then they get the next flow. And
Yeah.
then, okay, cool, they're off. And now we'll use them for a different style of campaign. But I think you
Yeah.
can have this like, you can have all of these cards of like, oh, I'm going to pull this one just like that. Like, you have them segmented. So cool, let's pull the Connecticut people up. They're probably jazzed because their team crushed it in the national championship.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like that, there's a lot you can play with. But if you just send that to like everybody and said like, hey, only for Connecticut customers, right? Like the worst, right? Or imagine sending that to Purdue, like people from that are in like, right, like G League, unsubscribe,
Yeah.
no thank you. And
Cancel my
obviously there could be some,
subscription.
yeah, there can be some Connecticut people that vote for a so you don't know the whole thing, but like,
Yeah.
no thank you, right? Because if you post that on social, wait, they're a Connecticut company, so they only support Connecticut. What about the community college down the street, right? Like you have such an intentionality with that it's like that's the one thing that we'll walk through and be okay. Let's create at least
Yeah.
two segments to start off with, and then we can add from there.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a conversation I have, when hey, looking just for some advice or looking for some help, like what's the number one thing I can do to increase my sales or drive my revenue? It's like it's email, right? Like become so good at email that you think that you can literally start your own email agency, right? As a business owner, everything from acquiring a customer and collecting the email to segmenting the email to like we have some paid ads running right now in different areas that we want to acquire some new subscription customers. So taking something as simple as creating multiple landing pages with different graphics, right? Like if you're seeing our paid ad out in California, your landing page looks a lot different than someone that we're targeting in Michigan, right? And
Mm.
then, split A/B testing your landing page with, hey, all males that click on this, you're going to see more of an outdoorsy, huntery dog type landing page versus a female that clicks on it it's going to be a little bit more warm, a little bit more inviting, a little bit more vibrant, colorful, where that all encapsulates within email and really studying who's clicking, who's buying, what this person likes, what that person didn't. This area of the country didn't perform as well as this area. Why is that? And that's like the number one thing I tell people where how do I grow my business and see an immediate return is really focusing strictly on the way that you capture emails and then the way that you send them.
100%. I love that, like breaking it down from like that landing location that plays into the email, because I think people nowadays want their brands to represent them, especially something as intimate as dog food, or as intimate as like the dog, leashes or collars or accessories. Like, these are things that are going to be a part of, they're going to be on their shelf and represent them. It's not
Yeah.
this like one-off decision. And
Yeah.
depending on the pet parent style, this might be a social thing. Their
Sure.
friends come over and they see them, oh, it's time to feed my dog. I need to get out this bag. This story represents me. So when they go to the page and like, wow, this is that hunter and this is me, or they go to the softer one, it's like yeah, this is who I am. Like this brand represents me. The story doesn't change, the ingredients doesn't change, the
Right.
history doesn't change, but that kind of initial coding does for them to feel like this is an extension of me. This is not a, I'm not buying a widget at a dollar store. I'm
Yeah.
buying a lifelong relationship with this company. So
Sure.
to have that delicate hand is impressive, and I absolutely agree. Like if you're not split testing some part of your marketing, you're not. I don't think you're marketing. I think
Yeah.
you're throwing a dart on a bullseye, and the room is dark, and you're blindfolded. Like good luck. I mean, you might hit one. Like it probably happens. You probably have sales,
Yeah.
but to repeat that the next time, cool. Scale that. Throw 100 bolt and throw 100 darts. See what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. You're right.
It's not
You're
going to
right.
work. Like
You're, you're
you might get one,
it's so true.
but you're not going to get 100. You're
And
poor
it's
poor percentage.
I use the comparison just because I have a bunch of kids at home. So I have a 4-year old, a 2-year old, and a newborn. And I've explained this a couple times over the past few weeks, and it's like my 4-year old, 2-year old, and newborn are my customers, my kids, but they're all different. So the way that I parent and the way that I approach different situations with each of them is completely different, even though they're both in my ecosystem. So I can't say the same thing to my 4-year old as I'm saying to my 2-year old as I'm saying to my newborn, right? And that's sort of how I explain split testing and A/B testing and coming up with different offers and different reasons to purchase because every single customer is so different. Yes, your blanketed story and your offer and your product and its benefits don't change, but the way that you express it and amplify it and share the message does. So I think that that's always something that I remember whenever I'm coming up with some crazy shit that we're doing here. Is it's hey, this may be your idea, Brian, may be really cool for like a 33-year-old male out in Utah, but a 62-year-old grandmother in Kentucky may feel a little bit different about this. So how do we change? How do we change your approach to this, right? And that's always something I think about too.
I love that approach because yeah, you're telling the same like value add and benefit, but you're just positioning it in a different way of like, hey, there's gonna be ice cream there. Hey, there's gonna be a slide there. Hey, like it's gonna be quiet, right? Like it's the same park, it's the same product, it's the same value, but you're just positioning it in a different way. And like, oh yeah, I know they do that, but I don't know. That's not why I chose it. That wasn't the reason.
Yeah,
Oh, I saw my favorite influencer. That's why. Like she made the decision. I trust what she does. Amazing. I don't need to worry about all that. Or like, oh my gosh, do you know their family history and the farm and all these micro details that I feel sometimes like entrepreneurs are like they're their own audience of one,
sure.
and they're like, oh yeah, this is what they're going to care about. Well, maybe not. maybe
Yeah,
that's maybe that's the other side of it.
yeah,
And I think also with the advent of like AI and optimization tools where you can tell Google Ads or Facebook, like, give this to the right customer. I'm going to give you 6 ads,
mm,
and now you give it to the right customer. So those platforms are starting to do it just because that's the only way to win. But if they go to the same landing page, now you're like, wait, you found the right customer, but now they're all going to one landing page. You've removed the area to like learn. And I think if
100%.
brands are doing that, like, oh, we have one email, we have one landing page, we have one ad.
Yeah,
Well, the platforms want you to do at least 5. Like you can't learn if you have just one. Like
yeah,
we got a 2%. Well, what's next? I don't know. Let's fix the. I don't know. You
you're
guess.
right.
Like,
Yeah,
but you're micro optimizing towards that result, and then that's where I think scale and where you can, cool, not just 2 cities or 2 states. Let's do 20 or 30.
yeah, yeah, 100%. 100%. Well, listen, Joe, before this is first of all, we could talk about this all damn day. But if I'm gonna end with this, we're gonna end with this. If I'm a new brand, not even a new brand, but if I have a product, if I have a service, if I have a tech, and I'm really stuck. I've tried everything on my own. I've done everything possible in order for us to grow. I'm not seeing the needle move enough. I need to do something. I'm coming to you for what?
I think if you've kind of tried it all, the first thing I'm gonna ask is like, show me the numbers.
Sure.
because again, I think he goes into the details of like the analytics, the email, what did you try, how did you try it, and then I think the thing I would recommend is pick up the phone and call your favorite customers.
Like that.
Sit and learn from them on like what value you provide for them. What are they doing? I'll do that when I'll step into a role where we're kind of, you're kind of hitting a brick wall. You're trying stuff. You're seeing incremental. You're seeing 0.25% increases. You're seeing 0.5% increases. But getting on the phone with one of their core customers
I like that a lot.
sometimes just reveals, oh my gosh, did you guys know that your shipping policy is off? Did you guys know, like, I love you guys, but do you guys know that like this thing is this thing emerged? Or hey, I get text. I've had this before. Like, hey, my email is now on your competitor's email list, and they undercut you every time I get an email from you.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. So sometimes having those like honest conversations with your like best customers, these are the ones you want to replicate 1,000 times. Um, and being able to like truly understand that. And then I think the second part of that, adding on to that, is community.
Mm.
Is if you don't have a place where your core customers feel like they can come